Saturday here. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our information call about the Quantum Leap Accelerator, a program that we launched 3 weeks ago and we're having a lot of fun with. And we're going to share some information about the program as we promised. And then we're also going to open it up to any questions. Um, so we'll make sure that you know that we'll have some time for you, Lisa, and anyone else who joins to ask any questions that they might want to. But with that, I'd like to introduce my lovely wife, Peggy Hoover, who is going to um, introduce this topic, and then she'll pass it back to me when she's ready to do that. But thanks for being here, and Peggy, go ahead and let's get started with our
Well,
overview.
thank you and welcome everyone. And, we are so enthusiastic about this program because we felt the need for it deep in the stirrings inside of us. And I would like to invite you, even if you don't feel this is right for you or it isn't the right time for you, to really think about the concepts that we're talking about here, because what we came to are three key reasons you're not making a quantum leap, which, spoiler alert, is in your nature. You're ready to do it. It's already queued up. Everything's here for you, but it's not what you are not already. It's not what you are not already ready to do. It's what's holding you back. And so what are those constraints? And that's really what we want to talk about today. So take in the information and let that lift you up, even if it's just starting for today. So Dan and I had what my grandfather used to call a come to Jesus moment, depending on your flavor of faith, where you sit down with yourself or with another person or with God and you say, what's going on here? Like, life is good, things are good, but we were expecting more. And why is it that our expectations are not being met? And we sat down, we went through some pretty tough times. We were in a mastermind group, and that fell apart in a really unfortunate and sad way. Um, and it really led us to this disillusionment of, what are we teaching? Does this really work the way we say it works, the way we've been taught that it works? And do we want to go into other professions? I thought about interior design, architecture school, I mean, the truth is we can spend our lives doing exactly what we want to do. But Dan and I have an ethical streak in us that really drives us to teach something that has efficacy, works for our clients, and for us. So that was sort of that moment where we sat down and said, you know what? What's going on here? And we started this journey about, when was it, Dan? 2015, when we were going through a very challenging time, and this is post the challenging time in the book The Circle of One, which just launched yesterday, where I shared my story about the dissolution of my first marriage. But Dan and I got introduced to personal development because we had a really good life. Things were going well on the outside, but I had a child who was not well mentally. My former husband was not helpful in getting her treatment. Dan had a business that was a brilliant business, but not doing all it could. And we had this moment where a mentor came into our life and started to help us see things differently. And that was incredible. I mean, we started to get amazing results out of nowhere and, used his principles that he taught us, and all was well. And then we met Bob. And we learned more, and our awareness grew more, and we learned about the mind and about how we turn no thing into, the formless substance, into the material world to and through us. And that was magical. And we were teaching thinking to results, and that was magical. But at some point, and I think it came to a head with the loss of our mentor through his despair, that we really sat back and said, what's going on here? And so we began to notice that our results were not as we would have expected. They plateaued a bit, they were hit or miss. We could manifest things easily. The house we're living in was an incredible manifestation story that we visualized and asked for, and voila, here we are. It was very seamless and easy. But other things have been more sticky, so to speak. And so, that brought us to an awareness that feels completely true and right within our hearts, which is the universal laws do work, right? We know this, the law of cause and effect. What you put out, you get back. The law of polarity. Sometimes things are up, sometimes things are down, but there's equal measure of good in the down times as there is in the good times. So we went back to first principles and we said, what is solid ground for us? And we said universal principles, solid ground. Gravity, that's a funny thing to say, solid ground. But these universal metaphysical principles work exactly as outlined, and they are agnostic as to what you put into the system is what you get out. So we started there. That felt like solid ground to us. Then we went back and said, okay, if this is solid ground, if we are spiritual beings, we live in a three-dimensional physical body, there are universal laws that govern co-creation. I prefer that word to manifestation these days. Sorry, manifestation, but you got a bad rap. And if we're spiritual beings and we have the ability to channel that formless substance, God energy, whatever quantum field, whatever that is for you, and that happens by law, by universal laws that we know work just like it's the sun's going to set tonight, then where are the wheels coming off the program? Or better yet, how can we optimize the process for ourselves and for our clients? So we realize that there's at least three critical missing pieces. Of course, there's always more. You can always do better, but there's three big things that are stopping our ability or at least slowing down our manifestation co-creation process. And really in all of this, in the end, we just want to grow. We want to expand. We're always going to want to have more. We're always going to have contrast. You're never going to get it done, as Abraham Hicks says, and you're never going to get it right. It's just this continual unfolding and becoming. So Dan and I went on a journey, on a mission, so to speak, to really right? We did, man. We threw it all out on the table on a three
Yep.
on a 9 by 11 piece of paper, and so we said if we can help, if we can with confidence use this program ourselves to help ourselves, and confidently say to people, you don't need to read more books. You already know everything you need to know. You're ready to make that leap. You're just missing a few key pieces. If we could just distill it and boil it down to its most essential, then we can get on board with that and teach that to people. So that's what brought the Quantum Leap Accelerator into being.
Exactly. Thank you, Peggy. And I'd like to just add to that to say that we are very grateful for our personal development journey. We've spent a lot of time, like years, and we've spent a lot of cash, a lot of money. I'm almost embarrassed to say, but we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on personal development programs, coaches. We probably spent 100 grand on books. I mean, anyway, we are not regretting that at all. It's been a wonderful journey. But if I could bottom line it, what Peggy is saying is, if you go back to the beginning and the things that we wanted to bring into our life, the big things that we wanted to manifest, many of those things are still in our dream set. They have not come true. So that's what led us to, well, wait a minute, what is this not working? I can't teach it to people if it's not really working. And it led to everything that Peggy just said. And now I'm going to share with you what we've discovered through dozens of conversations with past clients, with fellow coaches, with our own introspection. The three main things that have been the cause for most people that we've talked to on why they haven't broken through, if I could say that, why they haven't achieved their quantum leap yet. So the first reason is many people are not really clear on what it is they want. They may state a goal, but they're really not clear and specific about what that goal is. And often that goal changes. So, if you're vague, if you're wishy-washy, if your goal isn't clear, you're not sending a message out into the universe of exactly what you want. Think about being in a restaurant. Waitress comes and you order, and then you call her back a minute later and change your order, and then you call her back in 5 minutes and change your order again. Pretty soon the cook is going to throw up his hands and say, I'm going to wait until Dan figures out what he wants. It's a little bit like that. If you're not really clear and committed on what it is that you want, you're going to be in this back and forth kind of, it's a feeling of stuck. You're not really moving forward. So that's one of the main things we do in the Quantum Leap Accelerator is we help people get really clear on what it is that they want. And basically what that involves is getting in touch with your heart and what really lights you up and discounting all the fears that pop up from your paradigm when you decide this is what I really want. You actually speak it, recognize it, announce it to the world. You get all in, so to speak, and it's heartfelt, it's heart driven. So that's the number one reason, one of three, but I think the number one reason most people haven't had a big great breakthrough, they aren't clear on what they want. It sounds simple, it's not. It takes some deep thought and some pause to really get connected with your heart, with what it is that you really want. Number two, when you get into this game of personal development and you want to learn things, guess what? There's a wealth of opportunity in there for information, right? I mean, Peggy pointed to the left a little bit earlier and you couldn't see it, but she's pointing to a bookshelf that probably has 1,000 books on it. And there's a closet full of them where we have chased the silver bullet. We're looking for the right answer. But the truth is, let me speak clearly. The truth is, most courses, most books have good information and they are teaching what the author or the instructor or the mentor or coach has discovered has worked for them, right? I mean, they're all good natured, they have good hearts, they want to help people. They went through this experience where they desired something in their life and they co-created it, to use Peggy's words, and they said, wow, I've got the secret. I need to share this with the world. And all of that is good. No judgment on that, no criticism of that. But here's the deal. Each of you, all of us, are unique individuals. We have unique backgrounds, unique experiences, unique programming, unique paradigms. We have unique goals. We have unique beliefs. We have unique limitations that have been programmed into us since we were kids. That word unique means one solution doesn't fit all. One coach's idea may work for that coach and it may work for some people, but not everyone because we have different makeups. We're unique. So that's a problem because either the solution that's presented to you feels like it's too hard to do or too hard to follow up with because your paradigm is resisting it and you end up giving up, or it feels really basic and simple and you kind of check out on it. You don't really follow through, or it just doesn't align with who you are. So the answer we came up with, and it's a part of the Quantum Leap Accelerator, is to be grateful for all of that. Send gratitude to all your coaches and all your books, but push that aside. Be grateful for the learning, but let go of the recipe that's being, for lack of a better word, pitched to you. And I've been guilty of this in the past. I've offered solutions that don't resonate with people. So what is the answer? Well, the answer to that is, I mean, it's a real problem because you invest money and time and you feel stuck, but the answer is you get in touch with the one coach that knows you inside and out. You get in touch with the coach that knows your paradigms, your programming, your history, your experiences. It remembers what mama said when you were 4 that had an influence on your financial paradigm, as an example. It's the one that knows all of your programming, all of your life experiences, and knows your dreams inside and out, what you want. And that coach is not Dan Hoover. It's not Peggy Hoover. That coach is your higher self. Your inner being knows you inside and out. And guess what? It's friendly, it's on your side. It's there to guide you from where you stand today to where it is you want to be. There's not a better coach for you in the world, in the universe. That's the one you want to connect with. So, in the Quantum Leap Accelerator, we have a process that helps you connect with your higher self, build, and by the way, there's a lot of words for higher self, right? Inner being, all that is, God, the universe. Wallace D. Wattles in Science of Getting Rich calls it the thinking stuff. I'm agnostic as to what you call it. I'm calling it your higher self just for this exercise, okay? But in the Quantum Leap Accelerator, we teach you not only how to every day connect to your higher self, but to build rapport, a relationship with your higher self, so that you can get present, get connected to your higher self, and be guided to your dreams. You'll get ideas, you'll get inspirations, you'll get nudges that say, go do this, go do that. You'll get insights, you'll get connections, you'll get all kinds of things. We don't know where it comes from because one of the principles Peggy and I believe in is that you, your human 3D self, which is only a part of you, but your human self, its goal, its purpose is to decide what you want and why you want it. That's what your human mind is designed to do. How you get there is above your pay grade as a 3D human self. How you get there is the job of your guidance system, your higher self. So it's about working together. Your human self decides what you want and why, and your 3D higher self guides you towards it. So we have a process in a Quantum Leap Accelerator to help you build that rapport. The third missing ingredient from people not being able to achieve their desired life is they're not taking action. Some of our peer coaches in the personal development worlds give you a process, say a set of affirmations, do a visualization, meditate, and your desired outcomes will come to you. I think that's misleading. You have to take action. But of course, in the field of possibilities of actions, there's like thousands of different actions you could take. Which ones do you take? You take the ones that you're inspired by your higher self to take. You believe in the process. You build this rapport with your higher self and you get feelings because they don't talk to you in English or French or Spanish. They talk to you in a vibrational feeling. And when you get that message from your higher self, you take that action. So in the Quantum Leap Accelerator, we have an accountability process where we hold our participants accountable to taking the inspired actions that they've received during this process. Because you can't sit on the couch and have it come to you. You have to get up and do things. Many of you have been trying to do things for a long time and it feels like effort and it feels like struggle. Inspired actions are easier. They're inspired. You get yourself into a state of flow. Now, I don't want to paint the picture that when you are in the Quantum Leap Accelerator, every life is rosy and everything is good. You will have challenges. But the main reason you're going to have those challenges is because of who you are, you and your partner, your higher self, who you are becoming. You're going to have to become something different than you are today in order to get different results. And when you go to become something new, you are in a battle with your paradigms, with your current programming, with your current identity. Because your current identity, your current subconscious mind, your current programming is going to put up a fuss and say, Peggy, don't take that action. I want to keep you safe. That's the purpose of your subconscious mind. So when you step into this third issue of taking action and you start to take action, you're going to run into some challenges, and most of them are between the ears. They're emotional challenges. You know, you're not going to die if you take that action, but some people feel like if they, in order to achieve their dreams, they have to get up stage on stage and do public speaking. There are people who have such a fear of that they feel like they're going to die. And that's real. But of course, they don't die and they get through it somehow. But that's your subconscious mind holding you back. So those are the three things. One, get clear on your goal, get clear on what it is you really want, get connected to the best coach in the universe for you, build a rapport there. And number three, take action that is aligned with who you are and where you're going. I summarize that by saying it's inspired action, action that's inspired by your higher self. And that's what we help people do in the Quantum Leap Accelerator. We're not your coaches, we're more facilitators. We set the stage, we set the environment so that in the Quantum Leap Accelerator, you have the opportunity to get connected with the best coach for you and to move forward. And we've been in it, well, how long now, Peggy? 3 weeks. We have rave reviews from the people that are in it. They're already getting what we call downloads from their higher self. They're already getting inspired actions to take and seeing results. And Peggy and I are thrilled with that. So I'll quit talking because I might go on for a long time if I allow myself to, but I'll say those are the three things to keep in mind. And Peggy, I'll turn it back to you. Thanks for letting me ramble.
No, that was great. And, I'm just going to talk about how the process works that we designed, the QLA. We love three-letter acronyms, TLAs. Um, but Dan did a good job of talking about the three key things that we feel have made the huge difference in our lives. And now in these last 3 weeks, it's just been remarkable because we cut through all the noise and the theory. And look, everybody knows the drill. If you've done thinking into results with us, you know that your subconscious mind is what needs to be reprogrammed. If you know about the terror barrier, you know how frightening it feels to take the actions that you know will move you forward. And you know about clear goal setting because as they say in the military, fuzzy targets don't get hit. So we designed this program really to hit all of those points. And so far it's been good, and I'm sure it will evolve. But I'll just say a bit about the program and why we designed it that way and what it does. And then, Lisa, if you have any questions, we'll open the floor and you can questions, feedbacks. You've been a long, standing client of ours. Um, so to help you set a clear goal, that's the very first part of the process in the QLA. We get you to sit down, relax, and really think about today, not what's on your dusty 5-year-old goal card, but or on your vision board from, years ago. Today, right here, right now, given your level of awareness, given who you are, given what you're living, the conditions you're living in, your relationships, your body, your health, your home, anything that you want. It could be a new car, it could be a new position at work, it could be an entire new career. We get you to sit down today and ask yourself in the stillness of your heart, when anything's possible, what would I love? So that's the very first part of the process because we had an interesting personal experience with this. I did. I went back through my journals and through, my gold cards and everything. And many of those things I have achieved, and I didn't give myself credit for, number one. But number two, there were a couple of big things in there that were still the same. And so I refreshed, updated, revised, and got like, hey, here today, if in the next 6 to 12 months, I saw massive progress on that or I achieved that, how would I feel? And so we take you through and we help you clarify what is it today in front of you that you really desire. And the truth is, it's the entirety of your identity. You want to be living in the home you want to live in. You want to have the work you want to do. You want to be friends with the people you want to be friends with. You want to have the bank account you want. It's the entirety of the whole thing. But we help you pick out a few key elements within that as an aiming point. The second part of the process that Dan was pointing to is if you're writing out your goal 1,000 times, yes, your paradigm's always going to kick back on any new process. But this process of connecting to directly where all the answers are, which is in your higher self, you put yourself in the energy of your goal achieved. And Lisa, I know we've talked about this. And for, the journals we're using, you can put pictures in there and we have you trace your finger around those pictures and get into the energy of you're in the scene. You are it. And you know that. And I know you know that because we've all had this experience when literally my heart warms up, right? I just feel like, oh, like this heart center warming of alignment. So for me, I start my process with my portable vision board that has a view of the mountains here of the home that we want to build or buy and many other things in there. And I go through those pages and I get really into the energy of I'm in the body I want to live in. I'm in the healthy body I want to live in. I have a wardrobe that is appropriate for me and my work. I'm speaking on stages. I'm doing all the things where this is our home base. So I get in that energy and then I connect up to my higher self and I ask for guidance and then I download it on a daily basis while I'm in the aligned energy of my goal achieved. And here's what's been downloading. You can't see the specifics, but it's an entire page of ideas, inspired actions, etc. And I just feel so good and connected. And I keep asking for guidance and funny, strange things download, like, things that don't seem any way related to the entire picture that I'm trying to picture. But I have faith that my higher self can see my whole path, can see the path of least resistance, can guide me in a way that my human mind could never engineer and figure out. And those are those serendipitous moments, like go to Home Depot and on aisle 7, the idea down. It's almost like a scavenger hunt. Like you have to build faith. And so we help you start to build that relationship with your higher self. And I'll just say a thing about faith. Your higher self is all, whatever that is to you. Again, we're agnostic, but whatever that power is to you is patiently waiting for you to connect with it. It's not judging you. It's not like, hey, where's Lisa? None of that. It's just there. It just knows. And it's always calling to us. But to build that rapport and that relationship, we turn the vision of our goal and of our dream life over to the higher self. It already knows, by the way, but we show up and say, "Hey, I know you know, but here's what I'm feeling. Here's because I believe our dreams are calling us from the inside. I don't think we sit there and think them up. I think they're calling us from the inside." So we go up to the higher self and we say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm here in faith. Help me." And the higher self is like, "Great. Hey, here's the next 3 turns." And you say, "Well, I want the whole map to my accomplishments." And the higher self says, "You're not ready for the truth." No, I'm just kidding. The higher self says, if I gave it all to you, you would go haywire. You would short circuit. That's not how this is going to work. And by the way, you wouldn't want to eat every meal you're ever going to eat in one sitting. So enjoy the journey, relax, trust me. Let's build a trusting relationship together. And the way we're going to do that is you're coming to me, you're asking for guidance. I'm going to give it to you. And your show of good faith is you're going to do it. That's how I know you mean business about this. So you're going to step out. And I can tell you that in this process with our clients, with us, I've done some really scary things, made phone calls, connected with people, asked for help, not even knowing in some cases why I'm doing it. I'm just like, hey, I'm here because I got a nudge to call you, or hey, I did this, I'm doing this because my intuition told me to. And then as you start to break through that fear, through that mental, invisible walls, those mental invisible walls, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's starting to track. Oh, that's why I called this person. Oh, I had this experience. Even if it's, oh, that's not really the direction I wanted to go in, at least you know and can pivot. So it's a two-way street that we're building with that higher self, with that infinite source of knowledge. And then the human mind can go out and take action. So we're using the tools of the human mind the proper way it's meant to be built, which is the what and the why, and taking the daily action, and the higher mind to guide us for the roadmap. And then the third thing is you have to take that action. And everybody here knows it is so easy in a New York minute for your paradigm to say, oh, call Phil Goldfine tomorrow. He's busy. Call this other friend later. She's busy, but you just do it. And it's like your fingers are shaking. And then it turns out. And then you start to break through those invisible walls and things like that. And the fourth thing, and this is a key thing related to your paradigm trying to talk you out of inspired action, is accountability. Left to our own devices, our paradigm will keep us fat and happy. And there's nothing wrong with fat and happy. We're not here as the goal police, we're not here as the paradigm police. But if you're here and listening to this, it's because you know you want more and you want to find an easier way to get there. So we have an accountability process that at the end of the week, there's a tracking system that you, Dan, and I connect through on Google on a Google sheet. And again, we're not here to judge you, but it's important to track. Here's what I downloaded, here's the inspired action I took, and here was the outcome. So it's a very tight process. The creativity part is all on you, but it's a very tight process to help you start to see, oh, when I did that, I got results. And most importantly, to build momentum into the process. Because the other thing we didn't talk about here, but is we found to be true, is your goals go stale because you don't get momentum. Conversely, when you get momentum, it's an upward spiral. It feeds on itself. It's like, hey, I didn't die when I called Phil and asked for help. I'm going to call those other three people, and it starts to build a life of its own in an upward trajectory instead of into a procrastination trajectory. And the last thing I'll say is that the thing that we really felt ourselves and we really want to help people with is that knowing doing gap, because our tendency is when we're feeling stuck, we go to a different book. And hey, buy my book, but shameless plug. But books are not bad. Books are good. But when your intellectual part, my stick person's over there, when that intellectual part gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're like, yeah, I can go for that dream, and you re-engage in it, and then the dream fades. That limbo is a special kind of hell that has gotten Dan and I to say to ourselves and to other people, if you're not seriously going to go for your dream, that's okay. Like you do you. Make a decision not to. Don't We call so many people and we've invited so many people into this program and talk to them and they say, one client in particular back east, yeah, I still have that dream. Great. How's it going? Crickets, radio silence. It's not. It's just living in the intellect as a maybe someday. And I'm saying to you, those unfulfilled dreams are not benign. They turn into regret. You typically see them at the end of days, and you think, why the hell didn't I go for it? And so we want to help people get out of that loop of taking more courses. Ironically, this is a course, but it's a course designed to help you end that cycle of knowing more, getting reignited on your dreams, but then not having a solid pathway to achieve it. So we meet 5 days a week, 8 to 8:45 Mountain Time. The calls are recorded. They're uploaded in a private mobile app called Mighty Networks hosts our content. There is lots of content in there that you can access, you know, and it's very simple. The community is amazing. The energy is amazing. If you can make it 1 or 2 days a week, great. If not, listen to the recordings. We'll work with you one-on-one to help you get up to speed and on board. But the real goal here is to not give you another fish, another 50 bucks. It's to teach you how to fish, to teach you how to build that habit of connecting and downloading and taking inspired action.
Very good, Peggy. Lisa, we went longer than I planned. 40 minutes of talking at you. I'm sorry. But thank you for being so attentive.
No, it's really good.
Are there questions that come to mind for you as we go
Uh,
through this?
I have this many. No,
Okay.
that's a whole page. No, but so I did take notes about the three primary hindrances to, seeing our fulfillment, our success, and whatever it is that we want to do. So
Yeah.
I'm probably going to go backwards, Peggy.
Okay.
So you were talking about taking action and how important that is. So what I've noticed over the past, I don't know how many years that I've been on this journey as well, that if you are in relationship with source, higher self, him, her, they, whatever, um, and you have a constant everyday relationship, you do receive downloads and you receive ideas and direction for your dreams and everything. But if you do not take that step, if you do not take that action, those downloads will likely be given to somebody else, and next thing you know, somebody else is like patenting your design,
Correct.
right? Because I feel very strongly that we are given these ideas and these dreams and these hopes and the things that we love, not for ourselves, but to serve other people
Yep.
or to serve something else, animals, whatever it is your dream is.
Correct.
It's not just for ourselves. Because joy comes when you're like giving. There's more joy in giving than in receiving. And
I totally agree with you. Just to say a couple words, my belief is that all of these ideas are floating around in the quantum field looking for a host.
yes,
And you
exactly.
are offered to be a host, and if you don't take action, okay, well,
Somebody else will.
we won't judge you for
Yeah.
that, but someone else will. And
Right.
move on. So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. That is true.
So yeah, taking action is so important.
Yep.
Not that I always do. When I receive a download, I'll be the first to admit, but um, you know, it's part of the relationship that you develop. So for me at first, it was like small things. When I'm receiving download, it's like small things like go say this to this person, or just small things to see if you're going to interact and build up this relationship and trust this relationship.
Correct.
So there's so much in trusting this relationship with him, her, they.
Yes.
Um,
Agreed.
in the more you show this trust and the stronger this relationship becomes, the bigger the dreams that you're able to co-create, you
Absolutely.
know?
Absolutely.
So yeah, this is so important that you take action.
Yep.
I have a lot of downloads that are still just written on my mirror, my bathroom mirror in dry erase marker. So
That's
I'll
a good
wake
place
up
to
and
put it. It's always in
you
front of
know
you.
those yeah, those special like 10 minutes right after you're starting to wake up.
Yep.
That's such an important time, and then it's like a massive download, just all this stuff comes in, and for me and also for you, Dan, if I remember correctly, you hear like voices speaking to you. You're like,
Yeah.
I was told a 5-digit number one morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. But the lottery is 6 digits. So it wasn't that. So I don't know what that was. So I
That's
just
happened to
wrote it
me too.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wrote it down and I'm still waiting to know what to do with that. So
Yep.
part of the relationship, I think, is to just continue. I mean, I was given that for a reason. Everybody is given downloads for a reason, but you got to stay on the journey,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally,
Absolutely.
totally true. And
That is spot on.
what we're teaching here, I'll just say for anyone listening to this, um, Dan and Peg didn't come up with this. I mean, everything that ever is, was, and will be is evenly present in all places and time. Quantum physics says that, philosophy says that, science says that, God, evenly
Mhm.
present in all places across all space and time. The great inventors, Einstein, Edison, they would get into that theta, what we now know about brain science, Joe Dispenza, thank you, and Bruce Lipton. They get into that theta state, and those are two time sensitive times of day, morning and evening, when the handoff is going in the evening from the conscious to the subconscious, you go through theta. And in the morning, when you're rising up out of your sleep state into consciousness. And so they would relax and purposely put themselves in that state. But Lisa, to your point, when we develop this and tighten this relationship of through the faith and through taking action, because your higher self isn't, if you were going to from Utah to California, you wouldn't have to be constantly looking at each step. You would just have to get out of the driveway is the first step, and then the next
Right.
step is given. So we can't expect the whole picture to download. And I think in some ways we wouldn't want to, because where would the fun be in the journey in that,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And the magic and oh my God, you'll never, I loved it when our client calls would start with, you're never going to believe this. And Dan and I would always repeat what one of our first mentors says, which is, I bet I would. Always amazed at how things unfolded, never surprised that they did. That's the faith part of the program. And as you start to strengthen that loop, Lisa, you can go back now and say, hey, are there supposed to be more numbers? Or can you give me the
Yeah.
next step in the scavenger hunt, so to speak, of where could those numbers, need to be? So I've started to really develop and rely on that relationship with my higher self and stay in it, knowing that it's this magical mystery tour. And you'll be able to, as Steve Jobs famously said, you'll be able to connect the dots looking backwards, but our
Right.
human mind, it won't show up in that way. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. And I did in my intellect, which I pride myself on having a fairly healthy intellect, but it screws me when I'm trying to use it as a tool. It's not the right tool for the job that your higher self, that job is very specific and it's very needed, but my human mind wants the entire deal laid out, so that I don't make any mistakes or I don't look like a fool, or, back to the subconscious mind wanting to keep you. Our conscious mind craves certainty, is the bottom line.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, the next time you go into that state of connection, ask, hey, what's up with these numbers? Is it a lottery
Right.
ticket? Is it an
No,
address?
it's
Is
a zip
it,
code and she
Yeah.
needs to go vacation there.
yeah, but you'll get but here's the point, right?
She's thinking now.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
You'll have to
But
look it up
here's
later. Let's
here's the
let's let
point.
Lisa
Yeah.
get to her list. She's got more questions for us.
Oh, no, no, I love this. This is so good.
Okay.
I could keep you guys here for hours. I know everybody's got things to do today,
No,
um,
we're good. Don't
but
worry
you know
about
what?
that.
There are so many ways to get from the start point to the end point
Yeah,
that even if we were shown the entire path, the entire map,
it
and
would
then
change.
something went off, like it was kind of off course, then we would probably, oh my gosh, and then you just lose faith. But if you're not shown the entire map, see, along the way we have choices to make,
Yes.
you know?
And the
And
path
so you
might
make a
change.
choice. Yeah, so you make a choice and it's like Garmin saying redirected, and then you make
Yes,
another choice and redirecting, and then you go
exactly.
that way and eventually you'll get there. But,
Exactly.
it's
Yep.
not going to interfere with your free will. It's not like you have this recipe that you have to follow.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if
So
you and I had the exact same dream, there would be different paths to get there
absolutely,
because we have
I
different
agree.
lessons that we need to learn along the way, right?
And the fact that you guys are willing to teach people how to have this relationship where you can download, all this information and the path and the dreams and the thinking stuff, churning thoughts into things and all that. I mean, that's amazing. A lot of people don't know how to foster this relationship. This is like new, right?
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
but you're right. It takes relationship. I think that is the missing element to a lot of people who are trying so hard, so much effort, but there's just so much ease
Yes.
when you're working with, you know,
When you're in flow, it's easy. When you're
him,
swimming
her, they.
upstream, it's tough.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Um, let's see, what else was I gonna ask? Information. Oh yeah, number two. When you were talking about there are so many opportunities out there, books, courses, people, mentors, and all that kind of thing. And yeah, absolutely. Um, I am so grateful for you guys, you two, and in the years that we've spent together, because that has absolutely produced my foundation, you know.
Wow.
And so there's always, like you were saying, those basic principles are always foundational. They will never change. That's the rock that you stand on,
Right.
as you're moving forward in this path of discovery, self-discovery, and
Journey.
you know
Yeah.
this journey.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for
but
the kind words. I appreciate it.
oh, no problem. I love you guys. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not crying. You're crying. No. But I did at one point because I was a seeker. I still am. But once I find something new and it's intriguing to me, and especially like anything about energy and God and manifestation, vibration and frequency and all those things. I was so like just intrigued. And then I started thinking about colors and how colors have vibration. I tend to like dive deep
Yes.
and I just keep diving and diving and I need more and more books and more videos and more until it just got to be so much. So there is a lot of information out there
Yeah.
and you can almost get burned out,
Well,
especially when some information is like contradictory a little bit, and it just depends
yeah.
on where your sources are, you
We've talked
know.
to many people who have said they're overwhelmed and burned out.
Right.
As we are seekers too, so we've gone through a lot of things, but lately I've begun saying no to some of the new things that come to me, or not necessarily
Yeah.
no, but not now, because I'm
Yeah.
focused on what I'm focused on, and it feels good. So I don't need to interrupt that. And
Right.
Peggy said on the opening statement, you already have everything you need.
Yeah.
You really do. It's just a question
Yeah.
of allowing it in.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, and then knowing what to allow in with all this information, that we have all around us, how do you know what to grab a hold of, and you can feel it,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
especially when you've developed that relationship
When
with your
you
higher self,
when you've
you
developed a
really
relate,
can.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And when you're really clear on what you want, your reticular activating system kicks in and filters
Yeah.
out everything that you don't need and lets in what you do need to get to where you
Yeah.
want to go. So
Very
it's
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah. We got 4 minutes. Oh no.
We can go long. We're not going anywhere. So we've hogged a lot of airspace. So you go ahead and ask your questions.
Oh no.
We,
So,
we want to hear
um,
your mind because we learn things all the time.
so being clear on your goal, that for me has always been the most difficult thing.
Okay.
Because growing up, nobody's ever said, "What do you want?
No,
What would you like in life?" Nobody ever asked me that,
no.
you know? Even as a young adult, nobody ever asked me that. So I never really gave it much thought. And
Same.
so when somebody finally says, if you could have anything, price is not price and location, and none of that is a factor. What would you want? I drew an absolute blank.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Really?
Well, what is there? What is there to choose from? Because, I never really thought about it. So that is, even though that is, basically probably the first thing that you really need to tackle is just to know what direction you're going.
Yeah.
But but that is the one step that I think really requires assistance. At least it did for me.
Yeah.
It does require help, somebody to help you figure out how to suss out all the other stuff.
Absolutely.
There's so
It's
much
tough.
coming at you.
It's tough.
Yeah,
Are you old enough, Lisa, to know what a Sears catalog is?
I am.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
one of my first coaches said, life is like you're handed a Sears catalog that has all possibilities in it in pictures, and your job is to sort through it and figure out what you want. But the book,
yeah,
the Sears catalog is a big catalog with all kinds of products in it. But he said it's like a million times bigger. So yeah, how
right.
do you sift through all that stuff? In today's world, there's so many options, and we know the field of possibilities contains all possibilities. So
Hmm.
I understand your feelings about the challenge, but the same way I get inspired action, I ask for guidance on what it is that I want. Help me
Yep.
get clear on what it is I want. And I end up being shown things that illustrate exactly what I want. That's been my personal experience.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
Well, and I'll just quickly, briefly jump in here and say that, I asked Bob that question because I had many clients and I experienced that myself. When I opened up that TIR chapter one, what do you really want? One page made me cry because it was so clear to me that I was so unclear about what I wanted. I knew what I wanted for my kids, for my family, for my husband, because that's the way I was programmed. How can
yeah.
what does everybody else want? And defining my wants and my desires inside of that. And Bob said something that I think is brilliant. He gave me a two-part answer. He said, number one, I used to believe people didn't know what they want. He said, I don't believe that now. Here's what I believe today. You know exactly what you want. Your paradigm has been beating you down so much, telling you you can't do that. It's not possible. You don't know the way. You'll never amount to that. That limiting belief set, and we talk about that in this program, how to identify that and redefine those. That limiting belief set is the cloak, let's call it, over your heart, over what's really in your heart. So when I say, what do you want? People say, I really don't know. And I say, well, if you did know, what would you want? So we can kind of, your paradigm is just a habit of thought. Let's not make it the boogeyman under the bed at night. Okay. It's a habit of thought, but it's a powerful, strong, life-changing habit of thought. And so everybody's paradigms across the board are all the naysayer. It's trying to keep you safe. Don't do that. You're going to fail. You're going to lose all your money. You're going to whatever, whatever, whatever. So that's number one. And he said the antidote to that is to get quiet every single day and have a journal. I don't have one handy. Yes, I do. Get a journal and a pen and sit down with your favorite beverage. For me, it's coffee because I'm sober. Used to be wine. But get something, put on some music, and have a dream journal. And every day, even if it's for 15 minutes a day, um, write down in there, I want to be a New York Times bestseller. That's crazy. Just write it down. Like don't go into a big battle with your paradigm at the moment. Just write things down. And that's how we release those dreams that are inside of us.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah.
Very good.
I think after talking with you guys today, I think this course it goes so much deeper than just, you know, um, build the relationship and receive your downloads and take action. I think it just sounds like this goes so much deeper than that because there's so much more involved. And I know you guys, you have been there, you've lived through it, and you know how to help people get there.
Yeah. It does go deeper. It's hard in an information session for an hour to really explain all the things that we get into.
Yeah.
Just as an example, next week we're studying a passage from one of Neville Goddard's books about levels of consciousness.
Mm,
And it's I won't call it deep, but it's thought provoking. that you can't move from where you are, your current level of consciousness. You can't move to the next one, which represents your desired state, without completely abandoning your current state of consciousness. And that keeps a lot of people stuck in limbo. They want to become something different, but yet they're holding on to their current identity. Um, so I,
That makes me think of something that Peggy wrote in the book that you just released,
yeah,
Circle of One.
yeah,
So Peggy, you said this might make me cry. So this is so good. Give me a minute.
it's okay. Take a deep
Because
breath.
this is foundational truth right
Okay.
here. I've never heard anything that is more truth than this statement. So reinvention, I have come to realize, is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you've always been beneath the conditioning and the expectations. So
Exactly.
the conditioning and the expectations that are put on you all your life, it cloaks who you are. You're still in there, but you're
Oh,
cloaked.
absolutely.
And the reinvention, oh, Peggy, that phrase, that paragraph or sentence right there is blows me away. It's so beautiful. So, but
No, I'm
that there's
crying. Thank you.
there is no greater truth than that.
Yeah,
And it's all about getting back to who we are
exactly.
and figuring out who that is.
Yeah,
Getting back there. And that's, when you talk about manifesting your greatest life and your dreams and all that is rooted in who we came here to be.
right.
Yeah.
You ever
So,
watch little children play, like 2 and 3 year olds playing together?
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
jumping around, they're happy, they're singing,
Yeah.
they're just full of joy. That's because they're recently come here and they can still remember who they really are.
Yeah.
They're free.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
Well, I said there's a lot of pride in the house today for Peggy Hoover, and that's one of the reasons. She's got pearls of
Yeah.
wisdom. That's great.
That is for sure. Yeah.
But we're happy that it moved you.
Yeah,
I
thank
know
you.
Peggy is. We just want the best for you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you want the best for everybody that joins you. I know this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That
Well,
brings us
yeah.
big joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob introduced this concept to me, and I think I'd always known it when I owned my health food store when I was 20, and all those. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, my headphones cut off. No worries. There's psychic income and there's income. We provide value and we exchange monetary exchange. I know that for Dan and I, the monetary income is great, but honestly, we could probably doing other things if that was the real driver of who we are. And that's fine if that is you. But to hear a longstanding client like Kathy Rose or a colleague of ours from PGI who've studied this as much, if not one of our clients more than us. I mean, or we're on part, like she's invested heavily with Bob. We went to retreats with Bob, et cetera, to
Mhm.
say this was the missing piece, not because it edifies who we are, that we're geniuses, but but because it helps people. And we see in our industry, maybe there's some misconceptions that your goals are outside of you or your new identity is outside of you. And that's what I wanted to express. And we want to express in this course and in the book. No, the call's coming from inside the house. And if we think about it in that way, then what is it around us that we can start to dissolve, let go of, drop, and then, do that with new beliefs, new ideas, and new practices that help us bust through that.
Right. Right. This is definitely as Abraham Hicks would say, the leading edge. I know our collective consciousness is evolving,
Exactly.
and this is the leading edge. It has taken everything that people have shared and discovered up to this point, like this is where we are now, you
Yes,
know.
correct. Correct.
So this is exciting.
It is exciting. We live in
Yeah.
exciting times. I think we have many shifts that are coming to us soon. And the higher we elevate our awareness, the more prepared we are for that. And
Yeah.
but I can feel it coming. I can't describe it exactly, but those
Yeah.
times they are a changing, is what Bob Dylan told us.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Those are great comments and questions, Lisa, and you're very generous with your praise of us. So thank you for that. It's very nice of you to say. But what else, is
You,
there anything else on your mind or any other questions that you might have?
no, I just want to say thank you. You've been a huge part of my evolution. That's for sure. And
Well,
I am so grateful for you.
it's been our pleasure. And I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the day, Lisa, when we get in the same room
It'll happen.
physically. I
It's
know
gonna happen. I know it. I don't know when or how or why or where,
it
but
will.
I
So
know it's gonna happen.
so look up the town that 5-digit number you got is, what the zip code is. Maybe we're meant to meet there. I'm hoping it's Hawaii.
Okay, I'll look it up. I'll let you know.
All right. All right. Thank you, Lisa. We love you. We appreciate
Thank
your
you.
attending
I
here.
love you
Those of you
guys.
listening to the recording,
Yeah,
thank you for
thank you.
sticking with us on this. We are open anytime for questions about the Quantum Leap Accelerator.
Yeah.
If this resonates with you, we'd love to have you join us, all of you listening. But if it doesn't, at least you understand what it is now and you know what you're saying no to. But if you have further questions or are interested in how do I do this, what does it cost, how do I get started, reach out to Peggy or myself, and we'll be happy to fill you in.
Yeah, and at a minimum, think about the three things we talked about because you can do these at home. I find I'm always better in a structured community with accountability and community and high vibrations. But literally, these are like tools in a toolbox. Start to use those because they do work. We can promise you that. Thank you,
Yes,
Lisa. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
absolutely.
you. My pleasure.
Thank you. Bye bye now.